Hi everyone. Let's talk about the difference between icing sheets and wafer paper. And they really are completely different. There's not, I mean, you can use them for some of the same things for cake decorating, but icing sheets and wafer paper are not the same. This is wafer paper. These are icing sheets. And I'm going to go over the differences between them and show you, just tell you a little bit about how to use them. If you go to Oasis Supply, they did send me these samples for free to check out, and you can use discount code Remember10 at Oasis Supply to get 10% off of all of your purchases. And I will put those links in the discount code in the description. So icing sheet on the left, wafer paper on the right. You can see that the icing sheet is a lot more opaque. The wafer paper is more transparent. And wafer paper is basically made completely of potato starch. It's not really paper, it's a sheet of starch. So when you put liquids and or anything that's wet on it, it will kind of absorb into the starch and make the paper buckle. So you have to be very careful when you're working with it. I do have this Monegasque luster dust. I'll put the link to that in the description also. I made a paint with it and painted it on here wet, and then dry is above that. And you can see that the liquid from the paint has absorbed into it and kind of made the paper buckle a little bit. That's okay because you can still use it for certain things, but with wafer paper, you have to be careful of moisture. So the dry at the top, the wet at the bottom, you can see what happened. And that's the one thing with wafer paper, you have to be very careful about the moisture. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be water, it could be vodka. If that evaporates quickly, it'll still absorb into the paper to a certain extent. You can use wafer paper to make things that are stiff, that kind of sit on the cake and need to keep their shape. These are some edible butterflies that I printed on the paper using an edible ink printer. You can paint the edges of these with the gold if you want to. I've seen people do that, and I used to do that. But you have to be very careful because it can make the paper wilt. You can use wafer paper to make flowers. These are all edible flowers that are made completely with wafer paper. This is a sunflower that's yellow with some printed petals. This is a rose. And you can make very realistic flowers with wafer paper if you take the time. The good thing about it is that they remain flexible like this. You can see that I'm moving it. So it's not like gum paste that's going to be really brittle and break. And you can take the flowers and kind of press them into each other on the cake and they won't break. You can still crack the wafer paper if it's brittle, but for the most part, it's much more flexible and it's light. So it's good to make flowers for cakes. The icing sheets are made of kind of sugar ingredients and things that make it into like a sheet of plastic sugar, for lack of a better term. And all of these are edible ingredients. They don't really soak into, like people say they melt into the cake. Neither wafer paper nor icing sheets really melt into the cake. The icing sheets come with a backing. With wafer paper, you put it directly on the cake. With the icing sheet, you have to peel it away from the plastic backing, and then you press it onto the cake. And you can see that this is a lot floppier than the wafer paper. Since it is opaque, you can't paint on it. And I have taken the same luster dust paint and done it over here. And you can see that the shine is really good. So if you want to paint a cake gold, this would be a good thing to do. Both wafer paper and icing sheets can be printed on with the edible ink printers. If you want to just print a whole design on it, you can put both on the print on with edible ink and then wrap it around the cake. For the wafer paper, it still will stay wafer paper. The icing sheet will still stay icing sheet. And you can peel them off the cake if you want, but you can cut right through them. These are both things that you can cut right through. But wafer paper is better for stiff things and icing sheets are better for printing. So that's the basic differences. Let me know if you have any questions and I will talk to you later.